Hi guys, and welcome once again to Piano and Keyboard Artist, where we discuss the artists related to pianos, keyboards and synthesizers. And this video, once again about Nick Rhodes, and this time it's called Nick Rhodes Keyboards. Can he actually play them? Now the title of this video might be quite inflammatory to you if you're a Duran Duran fan, and before I even get into it, and before you leave a thumbs down and a nasty comment, my answer is yes, he can play. And the reason I'm making this video is it's a follow-up video to the video I put up a couple of weeks ago. There has been a lot of requests from you guys on my channel to talk about Nick Rhodes from Duran Duran. If you go online onto Google or YouTube and you type in Nick Rhodes, of course there are videos about him. But if you consider the sort of the sheer size of Duran Duran, the fact that they were a mega group and they still are a massive group, there are relatively few videos about Nick Rhodes if you consider how big Duran Duran were and are. So that is why I made that first video, and I was really impressed by the response and the overwhelming support I got. But the reason I've decided to make this follow-up video is because reading the comments reminds me of a lot of things I've used to hear about Nick Rhodes, either from people who don't like Duran Duran or the traditional rock scene, and very often coming from people who are confused as to what Nick Rhodes does on stage. And I just want to sort of address that in this video in a very sort of, in my 2 cents worth as a producer and a musician and as a Duran Duran fan. Now, I've read in forums and seen videos and discussions where people talk about Duran Duran, and people will often say things sometimes about Nick Rhodes where they'll say, oh, he's not much of a player, he's more of a button pusher, and for the lack of a better explanation. And I find sometimes, guys, that a lot of these comments come from people who are not musicians and are not producers and don't necessarily understand music production. Now, in saying that, I'm not trying to draw a division between people who are musicians, producers, and those who aren't. But I do think that having a sort of like a basic understanding of what Nick Rhodes is doing will make it easier for you to understand what he's actually doing. If we come back to a video I did on a slightly different topic early on my channel, I did this video called FLETCH, What Does FLETCH Do? And of course we talk about DEPECHE mode a lot on this channel. And I made that video because a lot of people in recent days, I mean, bless FLETCH, he gets a hard time, and we love FLETCH. But people often criticize the fact that he seems to be clapping most of the time, his hands are never on the keyboards. What is he doing? And in that video, I tried to address that in the earlier days, where the music was really sort of like dun 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 dun, that really sort of played, and there were lots of melodies. You listen to 80s music, there were lots of like melodies and stuff. And as electronic music progressed, the sound is less about little motives and melodies, and it's more about sort of landscapes and textures. And I don't want to get too deeply into that. All I'm trying to really illustrate is that as music production and techniques and music taste has changed over the years, the way we listen to music, but also the way keyboards are played and live performances are presented these days are a lot different. And what's very important, guys, when you're putting on a live show, if you think, if you're a musician or producer out there, you know how hard it is just playing to a small audience. But imagine putting on a show like Duran Duran, and they play to thousands of people, at a time, stadiums and stuff. The most important thing when you're doing a live show of that level is translation. It's making sure that the sound and the production and everything really is of the highest possible standards. So this is where the compromise comes in. It's like, do I play every single little melody just to make myself look good and then run the risk of making a mistake? You wouldn't do that, because people would go, oh, he made a mistake, oh, it sounds shit. So there is always a lot to consider in live music. And, and I always say, guys, on my tutorials and when I'm coaching people is, at the end of the day, it's the end result that counts. At the end of the day, it's the end result that counts. Now, let's address what Nick Rhodes is doing on stage. Now, very often, as I say, people say, oh, he seems to be just like tapping something there. He doesn't seem to be playing. And as I say, I've Googled up and gone onto YouTube and tried to find video footage of, you know, of Nick Rhodes actually playing, like sort of like playing an acoustic piano, and I can't actually find any footage like that. And if there is, I'd love to see it. But I'm going to sort of just, you know, base this on a recent set of concerts I've watched them perform, which was the Paper Gods concert they did in Japan, and there was a 2017 concert they did here in London. Now, I just want to say is they are still incredible. I mean, you know, as we get older, our vocals change and our bodies change, and we, you know, we kind of cannot do the things we did when we were younger. But I really have to say that Duran Duran currently, I mean, if you listen to the live sound now and their energy, I think they're still fantastic and still at the top of their game. There's nothing that sort of suggests, oh guys, you should stop now. I really feel that they're at the top of their game still, and that's probably just because I'm quite biased and I'm a fan. Coming to Nick Rhodes now, let's take a song like Planet Earth, which has got a very simple melody, which is the... Of course, that's not the right sound. I'm just demonstrating it on a piano sound here now, just for demonstrational purposes. Now, that melody is very easy to play. Now, if you were not a musician, and, you know, I could probably teach you to play that simple melody in one sitting. Simplicity does not mean not good. What I'm illustrating is something like that he would play live. But if we jump to a song like one of my favorite Duran Duran songs, if we take a song like The Chauffeur, which is the... Behind the tall planes, the glides are moving, all looking for a new place to drive. I love that song. If you listen to that song, it's got that little sequence which is something like... It's got that bum 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 bum. Now understand, when they do that live, watch Nick. He's not going... He's not playing the bum 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 bum. When that starts, that little sequence, that little riff, it's on the backing tape. It's on the backing track. And he will probably just play chords and stuff over that. Of course, there are some people going, oh, that's cheating. But once again, guys, it's all about the end result. And this is the thing. It's, you know, comparing electronic music, and although Duran Duran is not completely electronic, comparing that kind of music to sort of like fully rock, traditional purist rock music, there is no comparison. And I find these criticisms sometimes come from people who don't really understand basic music production, or they tend to be hardcore rock fans, and then they'll go to a live concert and they'll hear something playing on a sequence or so, and they'll see the keyboard player not actually touching the keyboard, and they'll be like, oh, he's faking it. Yeah, being a keyboard player and playing in bands and stuff, I've heard it all. So yeah, understand, guys, that I'm just giving my 2 cents worth of input here and hoping that you can get value from this. If we take another song, and I'm just freewheeling here, if we take like A View to a Kill. Now, from what I could tell, and I could be wrong, because remember when you watch these concerts, the way it's edited, like the camera sort of cuts very quickly from one member to another in different scenes, you know, to create that excitement. But if I watched A View to a Kill, it's got that... You know, that obviously this played on a piano sound. It's got those kind of stab sounds. And from what I could tell, I think that the bum, 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 dun, 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 was actually playing on the backing track. And then Nick just went on to do sort of stab sounds to sort of like emphasize that. So he'd go, so when you have the bum, 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 on the backing track, Nick would go like bum, 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 dun, 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 dun. Or he'd do those bum, bum, like stabs. So understand, he's not playing every single note, and he doesn't have to. There's a lot going on. And also bear in mind that Duran Duran only have the one keyboard player, so And of course, Nick, like most human beings, only has 2 hands. He has to handle and cover a lot. If you go on to like songs like Ordinary World, things like that, you can clearly see him playing the chords to that. Now, whether those chords are already on the backing track and he's just, you know, sort of like overdubbing them or dubbing them up or playing over the sound, I don't know. But the point I'm making is, guys, and I say we could go on about this, I just wanted to point out a very few simple examples there. The end result, it's all about the end result. It's about the translation and how it translates live. And let us not forget that the most important thing is that Nick Rhodes has been more than just a keyboard player to Duran Duran. I mean, you can't dismiss him as just a keyboard player. There is so much to him, and I really want to dig a little bit deeper in Nick Rhodes, and if I'm lucky enough one day, I'll maybe get to interview him, fingers crossed. But I do find him really fascinating, the fact that there's such a big group, but there's not much on him. Just understand, guys, that what Nick Rhodes is doing is brilliant, although it's not very obvious, because the synthesizer and the sort of electronic elements of Duran Duran are not very prominent, because, you know, it's not a electronic band. But I'm telling you that if you dig deeper into the layers, there's a lot going on there. Even the stuff you cannot sort of consciously hear. You know, if you were to take all the keyboard parts out, even in songs like Ordinary World and songs like Come Undone, where it's not really obvious that there are electronic elements in there, I promise you, if you took them away, it would make a big difference. And this is why in my first video I said Nick Rhodes' understated genius, because I really feel, even though Nick Rhodes' persona is quite flamboyant and he's very striking and his personality and charisma are quite big, his input is huge, but it's not very, it's not in your face. Like when he's on stage, he's there, but he's not like in your face. And that is what I meant by him being understated. Guys, I hope this makes sense. I don't want to bang on too much about this. I would like to do some more videos on Duran Duran, but I would love you to leave your comments as usual and just let me know, you know, what other elements within Duran Duran would you like me to elaborate on? You know, obviously focusing on the keyboard synthesizer parts, especially as this is a piano keyboard artist series. I would appreciate your comments, and I would love to continue the conversation regarding Nick Rhodes and Duran Duran. Guys, if this is the first time to my channel, I'd like to welcome you with open arms. Please go back into the channel list at the bottom and you can check out several other videos I've done. Lots on Depeche Mode, but we are going to be diversifying into other areas now. Lots of interesting things to come. So please hit that subscribe button, share the videos with people you think would like them. And to those of you who've been with me from the beginning, I love you so much and I'm so grateful for everything you've done. Guys, I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care of yourselves.